Ever, right? Yeah, we had to go and drop off one of our cats at the vet. He had some weepy eyes and some discharge and pick him up. And we had to do it, of course, at times that the vet specified. I'm still taking a break from David Goldberg's environment 30-day, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to come back and do some more, but I've been searching Science of Mind magazines last month and this month for articles that I think are interesting to everybody. And this one is by two people actually who taught me when I was in ministerial school, actually in the Holmes Institute, the consciousness studies part. And the class they taught was called Spirituality in the Brain, and they've written books about it. The first one is Mark Wahlberg. He was originally, maybe he still is, a reporter, like a scientific reporter. And the other one is Andrew Newberg, MD, who, well, he's actually a doctor, and they both of them have studied neuroscience, and they come up with a lot of stuff. The class they taught was called Spirituality in the Brain, and this article is actually called Meditation Makes You Smarter. And in this article, they're actually telling us that the regular measures for intelligence are not everything, that there's more than one kind of intelligence. And a lot of you probably know this. There's what you might call smart intelligence, and then there's emotional intelligence. And then they're going to tell us about how different parts of the brain function with this. So I'm not going to read the whole thing out because it's 2 pages in the magazine. And there are some scientific terms in there which you probably don't need to know, actually, or it wouldn't add to it by knowing. So I'm going to paraphrase roughly what they said. So here goes. Here goes the paraphrasing. So they start off by talking about that emotion, that measuring intellectual intelligence is it's a topic that's got a lot of controversy around it. And they said, yeah, it measures cognitive skills, but it doesn't measure things like creativity and social skills. What they has been called by Daniel Goleman emotional intelligence. An IQ test focused on the first part, which is the intellectual intelligence. And as you know, schools use this, universities use it. When I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, almost 11 years old, I had to take a 2-part test to determine what kind of school I went to after I was 11. And fortunately, I passed both parts of the test, but it was an intelligence test. It didn't test emotional intelligence or anything else. And so I went to St. Mary's College was the place I went, actually, which was like they had tiers of schools, and these were kind of the top tier. So they go on to tell us that neuroscience looks at more things than this, and that it looks at different kinds of brain functions, and that the central core of the brain that is used for this is called the executive network, central executive network. And this is the one that focuses on the intellectual intelligence. And they said, but the problem is that, and this is the main point here, my mouse keeps sending me back and forth. This is the main point here, that we can't stay focused on this kind of intelligence all the time. It doesn't work that way. We need to take a break from it. And we need to actually go into things like meditation and so on, because then we get it balanced out. IQ tests just sort out one thing, but they can never actually sort out the other part. Then they're saying that your brain needs that daydreaming function in order to operate effectively. It needs both. It needs the intellectual side, but it also needs the daydreaming, the meditation, the mind focusing function as well. So it needs both of these two things. And the 2 parts, as we said, there's the central executive network, which is the intellectual side, but then there's what they call the DMN, which is what is that? Oh yeah, here it is, the default mode network. So it needs to balance out between these two things. I remember once listening to a lecture by Wayne Dyer, and he was talking about when he was a kid in school, and he was looking out of the window and he was daydreaming, and the teacher said to him, Mr. Dyer, would you mind rejoining us? And he said, not really, because he was just focused on what he was doing. So, so the whole point of this is that we need to balance out the intellectual side with the other side, which is the more emotional side. And they said the secret is to practice self-reflection as you remain deeply relaxed and you observe your thoughts and your feelings without judgment. And then you ask your intuition or God or your higher self, whichever you wish to call it, for insights about your problems and your desires. And then you listen to those whispers and combine it with all the outer knowledge you accumulated over the years. So you're balancing out the two things. And then they said, you remain curious and be playful as you explore new knowledge and experiences. And maybe, just maybe, you'll experience what brain studies suggest is enlightenment, the ideal balance of all the intelligences in your brain. So, what they're telling us is that it really is important to start meditating because when you meditate or you mind focus, or you live in awareness, in mindfulness, and then you get into that part where actually you can observe your own thoughts. And this is what they're telling us. They're saying when you're meditating, see if you can observe the thoughts. So you're kind of like an observer, observing the stuff that's coming in and the thoughts that are coming in without getting involved in them. And that when you do this and balance this out with the intellectual side, then you're actually living a much more balanced life and the life human beings were meant to live. So this is a huge plug for meditation, mindfulness, and so on and so forth. So, hope you found the article interesting. As I said, it was a big article. I tried to summarize it and throw in a bit of useful stuff as well, like Wayne Dyer. I did not give you an affirmation for this, but if you like an affirmation, I balance my intellectual and emotional intelligence by practicing mindfulness and meditation. Or you can say, I meditate to balance my brain functions. I meditate to balance my brain functions. So pick your own. Okay. So hope you like these departures. And Reverend Lisa will be back tomorrow at about 9:15. As far as I know, and because I was busy all day, Daniel Mercadal, one of our practitioners, was doing a meditation today around about 11:15. And you can find Reverend Lisa and Daniel Mercadal on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. I don't think you can track it down through my page, but anyway. So wherever you got this, Creative Life Spiritual Center Facebook page, you'll find it everything. Mine, Daniel Mercadal's, Reverend Lisa's, and much more. So until next time, namaste.